This is a political forum like we are not used to seeing. David Axelrod from the left, Karl Rove from the right. This is really an awesome opportunity, and it's going to be at Hamilton College on Wednesday night. The moderator of the event is the USA Today Washington bureau chief, Susan Page, who's on the line with us right now. Susan, this is an awesome opportunity.
Bill, yes, it's a huge opportunity. This meeting we're going to have with at the college with David Axelrod and Karl Rove, two people who are responsible, in part at least, for electing the last two presidents.
Yeah. So they say that once you start going around, it all comes full circle in the end, and somewhere they meet. Do these two meet anywhere? I'm not sure. I don't think they do.
I actually think they do meet, and I think that President Trump has made them more interested in finding ways in which they have common ground. I think that President Trump, for establishment figures like Karl Rove and David Axelrod in both parties, it's made people reconsider where are the places that we agree, because we have certainly found there are so many places in which as a nation we're very divided.
And Karl Rove has been he has not held back on this president. He's certainly critical of President Trump.
He has been very critical of President Trump, and that's gotten him into some trouble with his party, with some of the forces that are most energetic in the Republican Party now. They are pro-Trump forces. They're disruptive. They want to see big changes, and so I'll be interested to hear what Karl Rove has to say about what's happening inside his own party.
Now, interesting, too, on the other side is Democrat David Axelrod. And, we keep talking about the civil war going on in the Republican Party, probably because they have the majority right now. But the Democrats are no stranger to this. There is a bit of a civil war going on the left as well, because you have that establishment, and then you have the Bernie Sanders wing of the party.
Bill, I think that's exactly right. There are big divisions in the Democratic Party. There are questions about what direction the party should go. And, Democrats are so optimistic that they can make big gains in the midterm elections next year. But that's going to require them to work together, to have a relatively consistent message, and to figure out how to respond to the opportunities they have. They clearly have some opportunities with this political landscape, but that doesn't guarantee that they'll be able to profit from them unless they have a message that resonates with voters, and unless they do better than their presidential candidate did last year.
So you've been doing this for a while. What can you compare this, the political atmosphere right now? Can you compare this to another time in our history?
Bill, that's such a great question. I've been covering national politics since 1980, so I have done 10 presidential elections. I have to say I've never seen the country as divided as it is now. Now, we've had rough politics before. People disagree, of course. That first election I covered in 1980 was a pretty energetic one. But the way in which we seem to be just split down the middle, and both sides deaf to what the other side is saying, is something I've not seen before. And I think it raises some concerns about how we can get back to a place where we can work together to address some of the big problems we all agree we have. Yeah,
and I do wonder, this president is different than any other because he doesn't follow the rules. And, for instance, I think he's almost the divider-in-chief, what he's done with the NFL. And most presidents would be, well, we're not going to get into this because it would cause a huge divide in the country. This president seems to embrace that fact. Race relations and all of what happened with the press conference over the issue in Charlottesville, and all of these things where this president goes to places no modern-day president has ever gone. Is that part of the divide?
Bill, I think it is, but it's also part of the reason he succeeded. I think this was one of the characteristics that helped him win the election last year, the idea that he doesn't worry about being politically correct. He's willing to say things that seem outrageous and very provocative. For a lot of Americans, they were ready to have things shaken up, and that was one of the reasons that they voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah. Andrew?
Well, clearly unity is a key thing that has to happen for the country to succeed going forward. We talked about common ground between Mr. Axelrod and Mr. Rove. Republicans and Democrats are very divided on a number of issues, but where do you think they can come together in terms of getting things done and progressing forward?
You said the word unity, Andrew. I actually think the crucial word is really respect.
Right.
It's not that we're going to agree with each other, but I think it is important that we respect one another and that we acknowledge the other guy has a point of view that's worth hearing. And when you look at some of the big problems that are ahead, we have a big tax bill coming up. That might be an effort to find common ground. The healthcare system is about to, I think, encounter some big problems for people who buy their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act exchanges, and that may also be an area where we look for leadership, maybe not only from the White House, but also from Congress, to try to figure out a way how to protect people, including kids who are covered under the CHIP program. That CHIP program, which was started in the Clinton administration, has expired at the end of last month. It doesn't have funding now. That is an area that affects a lot of families across the country.
We're talking to Susan Page, who is USA Today's Washington Bureau Chief. She'll be moderating the event on Wednesday night at Hamilton College, which is basically an opportunity for us to hear from both sides, going head-to-head. Karl Rove from the right, David Axelrod from the left, and Susan will be moderating. I really kind of wonder, I want to hear what they have to say about just what went on, whether we're talking about the Iran nuclear deal or health care. In both cases, the president put this back onto the shoulders of Congress. So on one hand, I'm wondering, is he just, he doesn't want any part of this? He doesn't want to take the blame, so he's throwing it to them? Or is this his way of making them do something?
One of the things I'm curious about asking both David Axelrod and Karl Rove is, to what degree did they take actions when they were in the White House that have contributed to some of the problems that we're seeing today? Were there things that could President Obama have handled health care or the Iran deal in a way that was more inclusive of Republicans and might have meant that it would be harder for President Trump now to undo those signature achievements of his administration? Were there things that happened during the George W. Bush administration that might have been handled in a way that fostered less of this sense of division?
Yeah.
So that's one of the areas I'd like to explore with them. And, I'd also want to ask them, what now? What can we do now to try to get back on the right track as a nation where we listen to each other, we can get some things done? Are there concrete things that citizens could do or that political leaders could do that would help? Because I think Americans, one thing we know from the latest USA Today Suffolk University poll, which was out just a week ago, is that 2/3 of Americans now think the country has gotten off on the wrong track, and that is a big red flag for the nation.
And I wonder also if you can find this question, throw this one at them. I really wonder, we came off our first black president, but also a president that really pushed a new agenda on the country. Social issues, a lot of social issues, health care, but then there's the transgender and the gay issue and gay marriage and all of these things. I wonder if this is a pushback from 8 years of Obama.
I think that's one element of what we see happening in the country, because that was certainly President Trump's message now, and also his message during the campaign, that he was opposed to many of the things President Obama did. And here's another question for David Axelrod. What does President Obama do now? Yeah. Now that he sees President Trump moving so aggressively to undo the things that he worked very hard to do during his presidency, what role does he see for himself, if any, in the direction of the Democratic Party or in trying to defend some of the things that he achieved during his administration?
Format, how's this going to work? You'll ask the questions. It's awesome that you have both of these sides that are for an hour and a half, however long it's going to go. But what's your format? How are you going to do it?
So these are not shy men. I think I'll throw some questions out there. I'm hoping that they'll talk to each other, not just to me. And we're going to take questions from the audience. So I hope folks will turn out with their own questions, because I'd like to hear them. Sometimes the very best questions come not from the journalists, but from people who are sitting in the audience, living their lives and interested in the future of the nation.
And you're no stranger to Hamilton College in Clinton, New York.
I'm not. My son Will went to college there, had a fantastic experience. I remember when we first toured the college, when he was a high school junior, he immediately, I tell you, when we walked off that college campus, he said, "This is where I want to go to school."
Nice.
So we were really glad he was admitted and graduated.
And then winter came.
Well, it's true that the tour we took was not during the winter months.
Yeah, well, that's by design. We don't ever give tours around here in the winter months. So, all right. Well, listen, Susan, I'm looking forward to it. We will be there. Susan Page. It is Wednesday night at Hamilton College, and we really thank you for taking the time this morning.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, quick break. We'll come right back at WIBX.